We're continuing with our RTX 30 series coverage by taking a look at some AIB stuff here with the RTX 30.
I don't think people care about that anymore. I think they're kind of like over it.
What? It's a 3090.
It's not even in stock anywhere.
Are you sure? I was told that things were going to improve with the 90 series launch.
I mean, me too, but I don't think it got any better.
Fine then, we'll take a look at ASUS's new ITX case instead. Normally, I would tell you all about how World of Warships is a multiplayer online game that's absolutely free to play with millions of players, that you get to take control of some of the most iconic warships in world history, and how the graphics are beautiful and has a completely revamped graphics engine and all sorts of different play styles. But I got something more important to tell you about today. New players that sign up using my link in the description below are gonna get a pretty awesome starter pack. You'll get 700 doubloons, 1 million credits, 7 days of premium time, the Japanese ship Ishizuchi, and the USS Charleston. Now with that pack, you'll get off to a pretty good start, but not good enough to take me on. So now that I'm done with this ad, I'm gonna go back to playing World of Warships while you go ahead and watch this video. So a lot of people may not even be aware that ASUS Republic of Gamers brand actually makes chassis. And if you haven't noticed, it kind of takes something different for us to cover it on this channel, because case reviews, they're really kind of boring, to be honest, unless the case itself is not boring, which is why ASUS has launched its brand new, I forgot what it's called, so I had to rely on Phil to put it right there. No, I'm serious. I forgot what it's called because this was sent to me like a month ago, and it took a world tour via FedEx. So that chassis just disappeared, and it's still in FedEx's system, floating around, being kicked around. Who knows? It's like, pickup not available, delivery exception, package lost. It's like, okie dokie. So ASUS sent me another one. But I'm not being facetious and I'm not being a jokester. I legitimately forgot what it's called because it's been that long. So we're gonna go ahead and, that was not a very straight cut. I do know that this is an ITX case. Oh, it's the ROG Z11 gaming case, I remember now. I've said that with my RTX 3090 Founders Edition card, that's my card. I plan on doing a build for my, My problem with cases is, like I said, they're fairly boring. And I need something unique that will fit my 3090. Unfortunately, I don't think the 3090 is gonna fit in here, nor do I really want to go small form factor. But I do think this is an interesting enough case based on some of the features that they have to warrant a review on our channel. So as I said, this is a mini ITX or mini DTX case. It weighs 19.26 pounds, so it's not that's exactly this many stones and this many pebbles. I don't know what other units people use.
Kings.
I only speak freedom. Go ahead and write your angry American comments now. You're going to anyway. Doesn't really matter. I didn't come up with the system. I just live in it. You merely adopted measurements. I was born in it. Actually, no, we adopted stupid units if you want to be technical. We are one of the youngest countries. So anyway, it does feature stuff. Join the Republic. That sounds like a political statement. So here's a little box of accessories. There's our power supply extension cable. So obviously this is going to be using a power supply in a non-traditional placement, which means you're going to have this little extension cable, otherwise you can't plug it in. Case screws, zip ties, a screwdriver.
Kind of fancy.
This is a fancy one. So we'll figure out what all these do when we get the case out of the box. Now, if you were expecting some sort of Gamers Nexus or Hardware Canucks deep dive case review, but you've come to the wrong place. This is the everyman's channel, or every woman's channel too, where we just go, it's a box, here's what it looks like. There you go. I know I'm being really dumb. Like, my brain is fried, I don't really care, but I've been wanting to look at this chassis for a month, over a month now, and it's gonna be a little bit on the larger side, I think, for ITX, but it's a convertible. What does that mean, a convertible? Well, it means you can put the top down and enjoy a nice summer day in California in July. No, wait, January. Yeah, because July is too hot. It's actually a pretty big ITX case, if you want to know the truth. It's not small. The first thing I can mention here is that you can have it upright like this, because you've got the feet on the bottom that you can see right there. Or you can put it down like this. So that's one way it's convertible, because you can actually orient it however you want. Well, at least within those two orientations. So here's the front cover.
Bottom.
I don't know. Okay, this is exhaust because there's two pulling air that way. So I'm gonna assume this is the back, which would make this the front, which should mean down here somewhere should be, theoretically, you plug your crap in here somewhere. Yeah, we like to figure things out together as a family on this channel.
Family.
And I'm really curious as to what size graphics card will fit in here. If it'll fit a 3090, this would be an interesting build. So there's one side glass panel. We'll put it here safely out of the way where I can kick it in a minute. So we got this screw right here, which is really tight. At least they give you the screwdriver, which is nice. And the head fits perfectly in there. That way you don't strip out the screws. So push that forward, pop it out. So that's nice. That's aluminum.
Jesus.
That's got a nice tone. Fan controller and RGB controller right here. So I'm gonna assume this USB right here can plug into your ASUS motherboard, which will then give you control over your fans and your RGB right here. So that's kind of nice. So it's all wired in already. You don't have to worry about trying to get that wired in. All right, so the only way I'm gonna make sense of this is to just start putting some parts in there and seeing what happens. There.
That's a computer!
I did it.
You need some computer with your GPU?
Okay, so here's the problem. The holes for ITX are a square, so I don't know which way. Huh? What is happening? No, I have a feeling a lot of our viewers are gonna be like, yeah, I had that case and I went through the same problem you are. Like, how the hell does it go? So the 3080 will fit in here comfortably. God, everything feels small now. Nope.
Oh, no.
You know, having a metal screw floating around in your system, that's perfectly fine. ASUS is like, we made a mistake. Not in the case, but by sending it to Jay. Okay, so here's what's kind of bugging me about that location of the GPU anyway, is I wish it were centered in the window. So you see how it's like way off to the side? And I bet you their Strix card and stuff would fit here too. So you got one intake fan and two 140 millimeter exhaust fans. Now at least you have that fan blowing up right on the graphics card, which admittedly is going to be the hottest single component in this system. I kind of wish that there was a way to get a little bit more direct airflow on there, because if you're like this, now you got a top mounted. I'm liking this chassis. But my fear here is that even though they talk about custom water pumps and stuff, I don't feel like I would have enough airflow / radiator volume with only being able to fit realistically a 240 radiator in the front. All right, so correction here, the rad does not go in the front. It goes in the bottom. This pulls off. So I'm gonna take off this cover on the bottom. So that's where you fit your 240. That's where you can put your AIO and all that stuff, which is kind of nice because if you look at the motherboard in a traditional orientation, that would put it like right up top right there. And then, oh, but you know what though? Here's a problem. If you mount it like this, we already know having your pump be above the rad in hole, not a good idea. In fact, Steve did a very good video showing, to those who understand the data he was showing, that that's not gonna work very well. So if you have it mounted like this, that should still be okay if you have the tubes coming down to the CPU, because at least you're getting some feed to the CPU and the air can get trapped in the top of the rad. That's what he was explaining to you, is that this, if you have no other option, is okay. Some people heard, don't mount up fan the radiator. If you're gonna be mounting it like this, I do not recommend that you do an AIO. Custom loop is perfectly fine because you can have a reservoir feeding the pump, that's what matters. But as you can see now, we can still fit our radiator. And then with the thickness of the fans, well actually, the fans will be either on top or you'll be pushing into the rad, putting the rad like right there. It'd be a pretty full setup. You could still fit a 120 technically here in the back, a 120 rad near the PSU. A 240 might be enough for a CPU and a GPU that's not overclocked. I would recommend more radiator space. I don't believe this case would be the best option for water cooling. Air cooling with an air-cooled GPU would probably be fine. I would definitely add fans to this. I wouldn't go with just the bare minimum that it has, which is the 2140 exhaust on the top. And I still would mount it this way. As much as flat looks cool on the desk, I'd go with a vertical build personally, because one, then you can see the graphics card in the front. Two, you've got convection helping. Although fans are going to overcome convection. Even the slowest moving fans will overcome convection. A lot of people go, heat rises when you putting the fan that way, because fans can overpower convection. I'm going to say it again. Fans will overpower convection. What is so hard to understand about that? I got up at 5:30 this morning after getting no sleep again last night for the second night in a row because of the launch for the 3090.
What is that face?
Tired. That face is tired. I think that 3080 does look good in there, though. I really do think so. So the other thing about this controller on the back is it's more than just a fan hub. It's also the front panel I/O hub, so everything kind of connects to that, and then from there to your motherboard. And then you can use it to control like the ASUS ROG AIO and such. If you've got an ASUS one, it'll interface with this controller, which means you can control it all through Armory Crate or whatever software they're using these days to control the AIOs, making you have one piece of software to control everything, which is nice. So if you've got ARGB strips that are addressable, standard ARGB with the 3-pin, plug them into here, you could theoretically, for the first time ever, have one piece of software controlling all your RGB. That is until the RGB is enabled on this graphics card, because the Founders Edition cards are RGB, and we don't know yet exactly how they're going to be controlled, but it looks like potentially EVGA precision. Let me go ahead and just sort of like put all the pieces back on now that we've got a couple components in there, because I'm not going to do a full build in this. I'm probably not going to use this chassis myself. I had actually wanted this for Little J's build. As you guys know, I ended up going with the 011 Dynamic. But because this thing made the world tour, it didn't come in time, so I went with the Dynamic. We actually went down to Micro Center and purchased it. Well, Micro Center purchased it for us. Yeah, and then, that ended up being my daughter's build, while this one unfortunately didn't make it in time. So let me put these panels back on. We'll take a look at how that looks, and then we'll kind of wrap up with some final thoughts. So here's what it sort of looks like with all the panels back on. I know the glass panel's on there, which is making it probably Glare City. Maybe I'll take that back off in a sec here for you guys to be able to see what it looks like in there. A couple things worth noting. Once the side panel's on, we can see that there's this nice big vent right here, which is going to assist with the graphics card getting fresh air. This is the filter that goes inside of there, and we took it off because we were just like, well, we would want as much case airflow as possible. So yeah, we decided to take that off. I do like that the graphics card is mounted in the front. Yeah, with it mounted like that and vertical, because the pads are on this side, this makes it basically a left side chassis. Yeah, because you got the buttons and stuff on the front right here. So like my setup at home, my tower's on the right, because the windows on like 95% or more of cases are on the left side, making it a right side tower. But the cool thing about this, and that's why I said it's a convertible, because remember we keep rotating it around, is you can take these two guys off. Because remember, one has feet and one doesn't. This one has the feet. You can switch the side that they're on. And yeah, somebody's already going, oh, in the comments right now as they're watching this. So now, when I put it on its feet, it's a right side chassis. So the buttons are here, and then your opening is there. I still think I would personally run it like this, long ways, not being quite so tall. Although that sort of stinks, because now you can barely see your upside down GeForce RTX logo, which is probably going to trigger a lot of people. But you can do that too to also get a little bit more desk space. Takes up less surface area on the table, giving you vertical height instead of taking up planial height. But let's not pretend that this side panel isn't probably one of the sexiest side panels that's ever existed on a case. Look at this brushed aluminum. It is aluminum. It's got the ROG lines in there, and I feel like the crazy lines really go well with the aesthetic of the Founders Edition cooler. And we've already said that if you're doing water cooling, you don't mount it this way. And that's just simply because of the fact that the radiator would be at the bottom and then the pump would be at the very top. That is terrible for an AIO. Perfectly fine for a custom water loop. The other thing too is I would make sure that there's fans in there as well, no matter what. Because although this fan is going to help with the graphics card, if you have two fans mounted right here, pulling air in through this giant opening on the back, so you got plenty of airflow right here, I think it's going to be fine. I feel like they should have brought these up farther into the bottom panel. Maybe they did it for structural reasons, but I feel like that half of one of the fans is being choked off from that right there. Like they should have brought these lines to, you know, all the way up here, at least 3 more. And then you would have had nice, I think, even intake airflow. But if you're mounting it like this and you've got air pushing in right there. It's gonna make a nice turn right across the components. Your air cooler tower, if you've got one in there, like I said, it shouldn't be AIO mounted this way. Or if you are mounted that way, again, you're gonna have nice intake airflow, just kind of making a loop and keeping those components cool while the bottom fan is pushing air up, assisting intake for the graphics card, while it's also breathing in through this side panel right here. So I'm eager to do a build in this just to test the acoustics as well as the temperatures, obviously. I just don't have the right components right now to do it. Like, I've got this motherboard, but I don't have a CPU to put in it. I have a 10600K, but I think a 10600K on a 3080 is a little silly. But with that all stated, I'm gonna go ahead and start wrapping up this video. I'm curious as to if anyone has this case. If you do, what do you think of it? How are the acoustics? Like, does the weird flow pattern or the amount of side panels and grates and stuff on this add to any sort of weird acoustic effect? Or what is the temperature like? So if you have this case, list your components and list your average temperatures on CPU and GPU. Really curious as to what you guys have to say. So there you go. You guys have been telling me, take a look at some, ow! I put my finger right here, and then I tilted it to pick it up, and it pinched the crap out of my knuckle. You guys have been telling me to take a look at some ROG cases. Here's a big, small one. And I think that's one other thing I forgot to point out here is I feel like it's rather empty in there. From this angle, I don't know how well you guys can tell. The ITX motherboard really does look dwarfed. It feels like the chassis is bigger than it truly needs to be an ITX build, but it's really not that much smaller than the shift. I mean, it's definitely deeper, but if you were to cut this maybe like in maybe 2/3, what do you think, Phil? If I were to cut it like right there, yeah, that would be about the size of the shift, like the rest of it. But anyway, this is where you guys sound off. You guys are the consumers. What are your thoughts on this case? Thanks for checking out our unboxing and first look at the ROG Z11 Mini, right? Yeah, ROG Z11 gaming case from ASUS, Republic of Gamers.